You're muted, Councilmember Andrews.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah. So let's move on to the consent agenda. The construction change order report.
Someone filling in for Sweven.
Oh, I'm right here. I'm right here to answer any questions that you may have.
Councilmember Andrews, for the consent items, I do have, usually we pass those through. I would like to maybe pull 2B and kind of go through 2C and 2D. Can we go through the water supply update if that's okay with you, Councilmember Andrews?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
I would agree to pull those as well.
Okay, can I get an update on the water supply update? Can anyone provide some information on that, under consent?
Yeah, I guess I can, John Murphy. So the report was data updated through the end of February. So now we're in the middle of March. So I can report a couple of things. So we have moved a lot on storage. We're still at 58%. So that's good. Snowpack data. We did get a couple of little bumps. Let me pull that up. What's that?
And I guess my question for this one in specifically, I kind of read the information, is with the hot days that are coming, what is really going to be the impact? I know we're at 58%, but that looks like that may go down a lot more. So
yeah, certainly we're moving into spring. I chatted last week with or actually earlier this week with some of the guys in the treatment flow control, and they anticipate maybe a little bit of an increase in demand this week. People are probably not likely to start turning on their irrigation systems because we can still get some cold snaps, and so you can have stuff freeze up on you if it gets cold again and you turn your sprinkler system on. So it's warm. I can see some people doing that. So I think we'll see a little bit of a bump in demand, but not what we would expect, in another month from now when it really kind of, maybe we're out of the freeze danger.
okay, so just
Optimistic than I am. I'm not that optimistic. I think we're already seeing irrigation systems turning on, and with the 90-degree weather this weekend, I think we're going to see a lot more of them.
Just a follow-up question. So with that, I live in a HOA, for example, and if I know that we may go under a water restriction for these irrigation systems as they start getting, are you guys informing HOAs about this? Because it seems like it's going to get warm, but then in the evening, we're going to go back to 40 degrees sometime. I'm looking at the forecast. So I'm just looking at the impact of if our HOA, for example, if mine starts watering this week or something like that because it's hot or something like that, what is the consequence for that?
Right now, there's not much consequence. We are communicating. We've had numerous conversations with media outlets. There's news channels, there's articles that are asking people, and we're coordinating closely with Denver Water, for example, and other water providers, trying to get the message out there, asking people not to irrigate and that it's not a good idea. It's not good for the vegetation. We're getting a lot of resistance and pushback. So we're going to continue that messaging, but that is one of the reasons we've got the stage 1 restriction discussion on today's agenda. We've got a media campaign, a bigger blitz that we're putting together, getting ready to go. Starting April 6th, if we follow the process we've got with today's water policy study session next Monday, and then April 6th, we have a Drought 1 declaration that we're recommending be implemented by council. Then there would be consequences to everybody on April 7th. So we would start being able to do things a month ahead of what we would in a normal year. So normal years, we have our watering restrictions effective May 1st, I believe it is. So we're going to get ahead of that by a month this year. And then we'll be doing a lot of individual communications. We're actually having to add a few more staff to help us because this year is going to be a big communication effort. We'll talk a little more later today about the fact that our water supply situation is actually bleak enough that staff, if things don't improve and we don't get a community response that we need during a stage 1 restriction, the forecasts indicate we may be in a stage 2 restriction by the end of the year, which would be really dramatic. None of us want to go there. But that's how bleak our water supply situation is and why we're planning to ramp up enforcement this year and do strict enforcement on stage 1 for a couple of different reasons. One, our water supply situation is so terrible. And 2, we're already getting a lot of pushback from HOAs, metro districts, customers who are saying, in fact, I'm going to a metro district board meeting next Tuesday because their management company has basically refused to make any positive changes. They've got their irrigation system going on multiple times a week already, and they're refusing to make adjustments. So it's not, we're not in a good situation. We are in our media blitz this year going to try to put more pictures out there because the public, what we're running into is a lot of people just don't want to connect the dots. And so they're like, oh, we should be okay. Aurora Reservoir's got water in it. You guys are overreacting. So we're going to be putting pictures of our water supply source areas that are literally dry and rocky and Spinney's mostly empty. We're going to try visually connecting the dots for people this year. We haven't done as much of that in previous years, but yeah, it's not a good situation this year at all.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it.
Hi.
Councilmember.
Thank you, Vice Chair. That's all I have on my questions on that item.
Yeah, and Mayor Kaufman's got his hand up too.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you have some messaging that we could use? So that when we do town hall meetings, on my social media pages, I think about 16,000 followers.
Yep.
Yeah, I would love to put something out about this.
Yes.
And so do you have any suggested thoughts on that?
We absolutely do. We will get you some talking points today.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Thank
can
you.
get talking points out as well as we can also work with graphics and just if you all want to have something that you can post onto your social media,
Yeah.
we can prepare all of that
Okay,
and just
thank
send it
you.
over to you so that you can do that. Absolutely.
Okay.
And then being a part of your town halls, we would welcome that.
Okay, great.
So talking points today and then something a little fancier with graphics, etc. in a few days.
Yep.
Okay.
We're on
Okay,
it.
great, thank you.
Okay. All right. I guess, thank you, Councilmember Andrews, for taking over while I rushed back over here from the grand opening. Thank you. So I believe we, that was the only one item that was to be pulled from consent. Were there any other items?
I think Councilmember wanted to
Oh,
pull.
go ahead, Councilmember Lawson.
Yes, I wanted to pull, and I'm sorry about this on the consent. I had a question on the grants update and just the legislative update. So
Okay, very
Can I-
good.
can I proceed or?
Yes.
Do you just want to ask questions then on
just-
the grants?
Yeah, I just had a question. How do you think that we're going to get this grant? I mean, is it going to be something that, in terms of just for these, with the legislative things that are happening at the federal level? I'm just kind of asking in general, just a general question on that one.
So I put on there 2 grants that we already have. So the Water Smart Drought Resiliency Grant and the PFAS Infrastructure and Sampling Grants, those we already have.
Okay.
And so we are getting, I'm actually filing for an extension for that in April when our review is done. It's just a non-cost time extension. So that we can, because we weren't able to start that until this year. And so we'll need a little bit more time to finish that up. And then for PFAS infrastructure and sampling, we should be wrapping those up this summer, I believe. And so we'll initiate the closeout and we'll get the full, whatever's left of the 1.2 million. And as far as the, For Tomorrow grant, that application is not due till the 27th. And so we had a meeting about that and we are going to submit that and then hopefully get it. I think we should be, they are looking for very project educational, community driven projects, and we have plenty of those. So I am confident that we will get it. The Bureau of Reclamation just dropped like 5 grants this week. I will be presenting those to management in April for our April quarterly meeting. And hopefully I would like to apply to all of them if, there are projects we can, just because this will most likely be, if not the last year, then the second to last year that those Water Smart grants are available. And so my hope is that we're able to apply to all of them. They like us. I think at this point I have their scoring down, and so I know what they look for. So far, we have gotten every single bureau grant that we have applied for. So I'm very confident that if we do apply for those and we have strong projects that and applications, that we will be able to get them. They are a lot more competitive this year because again, this might be the last year. But like I said, I think they like us, so hopefully we are able to get all the applications we apply.
Okay, thank you for that question, for that answer.
If I can ask on the grants, so the PFAS, we definitely got the grant and we got the $2025 we have received.
We've received some of them.
Some of-
So that grant started last year. And that's for infrastructure and sampling. We did receive the emerging contaminants grants in December. Everything was finally signed and finalized. We are going through, they just sent the EA approval yesterday. So they are going to give us a construction date for that to start. And that one is for a little bit over 18 million. So our PFAS project has been fully funded by grants.
Great, thank you.
That project, and remember, we've got the lead
Yeah.
money still pending. So likely for those who go to DC, we're going to coordinate with Liz on some messaging points to express a little bit of concern when you're out there, and then we'll reinforce it on Water's
Okay.
trip, but over the lack of that lead replacement assistance money being able to make it to us and other organizations being required to remove private lead service lines. The federal government had promised assistance. They've provided some assistance to select entities, but we have not gotten any of that money yet, right?
No, we have to reapply actually because they actually wrote their application. They added more requirements to it. So we are reapplying in July. And so we are working on just updating our numbers because they ask for very specific numbers like the debt and revenue, et cetera. So we have to update that, and it should be ready in March, and we're going to submit here in April. So hopefully we get first tips.
Chair,
Councilmember
can I just ask a follow-up? So, Marshall, just to get some clarification on what you said that there was a promise. Do you mean a promise to the city of Aurora in an appropriation, or are you saying promise for the money, the grant to be available so we can apply?
So we actually got, our grant was approved, our application, everything was approved in 2025. However, the federal government did not allocate the funding for the grant. And so even though we technically were approved, there was no money to give us because there were no appropriations in 2025 for lead service line. And so finally, in December, they were like, yes, we're getting it, but you'll have to reapply now because it is technically new funds.
Okay.
And so our original application was for 40 million, but because the funds are so low, we've now changed it to 26, which 10 of that will be grants.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And that's all I have on that item, Chair.
Okay, do you want to move on to the legislative?
Yes, I'm sorry on all of these. Shawnee, I just wanted to ask, I haven't looked at our packet for Pfizer, but I know that there was something with the Water Congress at the state level. Has that been resolved? Have you guys moved forward with that? What's kind of going on with that? I guess that's my specific question. It may be out of what the packet has, but
Yes, super glad you asked, Councilmember Lawson, because I'm actually getting together the information that I'm going to send over so that it goes into the Pfizer packet for tomorrow. That there's two bills that we are concerned about. One of them is SB 261310. That is the wildfire resiliency grants. They're trying to redirect funding out of the wildfire funding that is typically used by water utilities to be able to go out and collaboratively thin forests and redirecting that to home hardening and to private use. And that would be devastating for us. And so us and a number of other agencies are hoping to be able to oppose that position. And then the other one is this draft revegetation legislation. This one it was supposed to have gotten introduced last Friday. It did not get introduced. We have been in conversations with the proponent on this. And we have developed some amendments that would get us to a neutral position. We've been going back and forth with the proponents. They were not able to work those amendments in, and we're not even sure if they're going to take our amendments yet, but they're still willing to talk to us. And so those amendments did not get worked in prior to the introduction, which is expected to be Friday. So for that reason, I'm going to be asking FSIR to also support an amend position on that one because it will be introduced on Friday, I've been told.
okay. So just a follow up on that. The packets have been already sent, so you might want to get with Liz. She's still in Washington, D.C. To make sure that we get those in there. So
okay, I thought I was told that I could get it in by noon today. So
okay. Well, it looks like they sent it out early, so I apologize for that. So you could still add it. So just that clarification.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. My bad. Okay,
no,
I'm learning
no.
still.
Nope, it's not you. So thank you. That's all the questions I have, Chair.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I had one on the revegetation. So
Yes.
what is the deal with the beavers?
Oh,
I don't understand
super
it.
glad that you're asking about the beavers. Yeah, so we had a conversation about that at the Colorado Water Congress this morning. We've kind of been wanting to just hold a monitor position on that. The issue with this is the way that Water Congress is really looking at a lot of the folks in there is that decisions about what to do with wildlife should be based on science and data. And there can be unintended consequences to something that sounds really good on paper can ultimately end up impacting things that you don't think about. And in particular for water utilities, that's our infrastructure. And so my understanding is Colorado Water Congress is going to go into an amend position on that one. And if those amendments are not taken, then I think that they're going to go to oppose.
But they're wanting to prohibit taking the beavers.
They are on public lands.
Public land, which is actually for fire mitigation.
The theory behind that is that when there's wetlands that are created, that it can, in theory, reduce some wildfire. Again, it's not necessarily science-based, and so that's some of the concerns. The other thing to take into consideration too is beavers do a great job, and we love them. They do a great job of creating wetlands, but in certain areas that's also not appropriate. And right. So that's some of where Colorado Water Congress is sitting with it. Like I said, we are in just a monitor position is what we're thinking is we don't want to go there.
Yeah. And don't they do a lot of damage also though for some of our water infrastructure?
Well, they have the potential, in particular in town, like when they can block culverts, and that's one of our biggest concerns in town. But this would not, this bill specifically would not affect us in town.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anything else from our council members on legislation?
None for me.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. The first item is the Piney Creek, Sampson Gulch.
All right. Good morning, Water Policy Committee.
Good morning.
Oh, what have I done? It just says I'm in PowerPoint Live now.
Oh.
Okay, exciting. That's not a screen I've seen before. Good morning, Water Policy. My name is Sam Scorza. I am the long-range planner in charge of the stormwater utility for Aurora Water, if we have not had the chance to meet. When I come to you, it's to discuss our partnership with Mile High Flood District and our continuing work in making sure that our long-range planning, our major drainage way planning, our watershed-wide master planning is up to date and serving our city's needs. This particular time, let's just see if that works. Does that work? Okay, very exciting. I don't see the screen you see.
Oh.
So this is going to be a little bit of a technology learning moment.
So I just hitting your down arrow.
How about that? All right, thank you. Surprising. This month, the Piney Creek, Sampson Gulch, and Antelope Creek Major Drainage Way Plan is what I'm coming to talk to you about. The city of Aurora came to Mile High to request an update to this master plan, which had last been studied in 2012, was the last published master plan, which means the data was probably from around 2010. And as I'm sure all of you know, there's been a lot of change in this region since then. This particular system is very sandy. We have recurring maintenance concerns, some that have made it into capital projects that we've also come to you to speak about IGs about in the past to address. These are areas where we have impaired water quality because of all of the sand moving through this system. And so making sure that the effort with Mile High can address updating the hydrology to reflect current conditions, not 2010 conditions, making sure that all of our assets and detention ponds are sized appropriately as we add them into our long-term capital improvement budget, and identifying new opportunities for water quality to be lifted in this area were our primary goals. This graphic specifically shows the distribution of drainage way area between Aurora, ourselves, Centennial, and unincorporated Arapahoe County, and Douglas County. And those will be the major stakeholders with Mile High Flood District in funding this plan. For these purposes, all unincorporated Arapahoe County and Centennial will be funded by SEMSWA. They are the stormwater authority funding arm of Arapahoe County and handle all of their stormwater needs and expertise through them. And so based on tributary area within the basin, we have equitably come up with a percentage share between the 3 jurisdictions, and then Mile High takes the other half of that work so that we can come to a total cost for the effort. So we're sitting at $90,000 for our contribution, and you can see how the other ones shape out there. And so with all of these master planning IGAs, so that we can move our funding to Mile High Flood District to proceed with the plan, I'm asking the Water Policy Committee to support moving this item forward to study session.
Do you have any questions, Councilmember Andrews or Lawson?
No questions, and I approve it moving forward.
I approve it as well.
Okay, I just have one, and the work that's being done at the Sampson Gulch.
Yes.
I think Shawnee gave me some information on it, because I get a lot of questions because it's a lot of disruption
Absolutely.
off of Aurora Park, or I guess that's Aurora Parkway in Sampson Gulch. So is that an expansion? Because you said to some of them are going to be sized properly. They're not sized properly currently.
So that was one of the indicators that we needed a study in this area. The fact that there was so much more sediment that made it to that pond, that we had lost so much of our volume in a pond that we had originally designed to handle so much more water, indicated that something is moving through the system that we aren't capturing adequately within our models.
Okay.
So that project is appropriate to continue moving forward. We're not going to be changing that, but making sure that none of the other ponds that we
Okay.
currently have or have planned within our 20-year CIP will be facing a similar challenge.
Okay, and since I have my town hall tonight, in case anybody asks, Shawnee, did you tell me what the timeline was on that? Or no? Does anybody?
Might have.
Does anybody know what the timeline is?
We can get you the timeline. I could get you the
Before 6 PM? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know right this minute. I lost that part of my brain, but we'll get it to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. And then next on our agenda is the Firestone Water Use Agreement. And thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Okay, no fancy slides for you from me. This is Dawn Jewell. I am the South Platte Basin Water Resources Manager. So this IGA is between Aurora and the town of Firestone. It is to trade up to 460 acre feet of water in a water year, which is November 1st through October 31st. At a maximum flow rate of 1.6 cubic feet. The purpose of this is because the city of Aurora does have water rights that have return flows to the St. Vrain Creek, and we do not have supplies to make that return flow on St. Vrain, whereas Firestone has return flows due back to the main stem of the South Platte, and they don't have the supplies to make that. So we have agreed to do a trade, if this is approved, to satisfy each other's return flows. So it's beneficial to both entities, and it does not change or disturb anything with both entities. If over a 5-year period, there's either entity that may provide more water, then the other entity actually has an amount that they would pay to that entity. But the plan is for it to be pretty equal over the years. It is in perpetuity. We've based the payment rate on Aurora's reusable raw water rate at the then current rate when we do our true up. Because Firestone does not have a rate like that. So they agreed to use Aurora's calculated rate on that water amount. We did put some provisions in here which allow us to terminate under certain circumstances, but it is intended to be a permanent agreement in place to satisfy from either entity. It can be modified over time if we end up buying more water rights that we need return flows for, or they end up buying more water rights they need return flows for. We are able to amend the amount in the future. But pretty simple agreement just to trade so that both entities can satisfy what they need to in terms of water court requirements.
Okay. Any questions?
No questions for me.
I have no questions.
Thank you. The amount you said is based off of what calculation?
The 460 acre feet is based off of return flows that Aurora and Firestone both owe to those different creeks.
Okay, all right.
based on water rights. It's not on the total amount that's changed at this point. It's what we already own in that area. So as we make changes, we're calculating into the future to make sure we're satisfying those return flows for the future.
Very good. And council members Lawson and Andrews, you're good with moving this forward?
I'm good with it moving it forward.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, next is the Jefferson Conservation. And that is Matt.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So like Don, I do not have a presentation, but I'll just give you a quick little bit of background on the work I do and this project. So I'm Matt Ashley. I'm on Rich's IBES team in the Water Supply and Demand Division, and I work on watershed health for Aurora Water. So this is a request to move forward to study session on IGA providing $100,000 in funding to one of our partners for a forestry project to protect the health of our watersheds. So the thing you need to know about watershed health is wildfire is the #1 threat to our water quality and to Aurora's watershed health. Our watershed health program, governed by our source water protection plan, supports forestry and fuels reduction work to prevent wildfire risk, maintain water quality, and protect our water infrastructure from the damaging effects of wildfire. We accomplish this work primarily through partnerships with our what I call forestry partners, such as the U.S. Forest Service, the State Forest Service, many local fire districts, and other local counties and municipalities, as well as nonprofits. So our source water protection plan includes analysis tools to prioritize projects. The Upper South Platte watershed stands out as our highest priority for protection, based both on wildfire risk factors and the presence of water infrastructure. This is priority for both Aurora Water and for Denver Water. Approximately 80% of the Denver metro area's water passes through the Strontia Springs Reservoir. And the #1 effect you see from wildfire is sediment after a fire. So already about 10 to 12% of the capacity of Strontia Springs Reservoir has been filled by sediment as a result of wildfires. So this is why this is such a big concern for us. So this particular project is in partnership with the Jefferson Conservation District. They are a local unit of state government that works to provide a local voice on natural resource issues. They work collaboratively with private landowners, residential communities, and local, state, and federal government entities to protect the natural resources of Jefferson, Gilpin, and Clear Creek counties. A big priority for JCD is the forestry and fuels treatments for wildfire prevention and source water protection. And so they're really kind of a major player in this Upper South Platte watershed and a really valuable partner for us. So JCD on this project is working in close partnership with the U.S. Forest Service, State Forest Service on the Brush Gulch Forest Restoration Project. This is taking place on U.S. Forest Service lands near Bailey. The project is going to perform forestry and fuels reduction work for the purposes of facilitating safer egress and ingress in the event of a wildfire, as well as to just reduce the overall risk of fire, which protects our watershed. So one other thing I'll talk about here is the average cost of fuels and forest treatments like this, fuels reduction and forest treatments. The average cost for these type of projects is about $3,000 to $5,000 per acre. And this really just depends on the type of equipment and the terrain. So on the low end of this cost is what they call a hand crew. And this is just people on foot carrying chainsaws, cutting down trees. So this is on the cheaper end of the spectrum, but it is, they aren't able to cover as many acres. The larger scale operations is when they get a big contractor in who comes in with logging equipment, and that usually costs around $5,000 per acre. And then there's a really expensive option like helicopter logging, but that's only in extremely high risk areas that are hard to get to, and that can cost $10,000 an acre. So for this project, we're more in that $4,000 to $5,000 per acre range with typical logging equipment. So the other thing to worth noting here is the other funders for the project, and that is Denver Water is providing funding, as well as the U.S. Forest Service are also providing funding. And the last important thing to note is the IGA does not support work on private lands. Jefferson Conservation District is doing part of this project on private lands next door, but our money is funding the work that's taking place on the U.S. Forest Service lands. So that is all. I request that we move this forward to study session.
Okay, thank you. Questions from council members?
No questions.
No question, no.
I think that was no questions. Is there I know the cost difference on the hand versus the logging equipment versus the helicopter obviously is way more per acre, but is one more effective than the other?
Yeah, it really just depends on kind of a case-by-case basis. A lot depends on the terrain and the accessibility. So if there is a road already in place, or if they're able to put in a temporary road, it's easier to get equipment in. And if it's rougher terrain, it kind of necessitates using that hand crew.
So they will use a variety of these methods based on the terrain.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And I think everyone is okay with moving this forward for study session.
Yes, I'm good with that.
Okay, thank you, council members. All right, and thank you for that presentation. We'll move on to the stage 1 water storage resolution. We're doing it. I've been warning everybody.
Yeah, me too. Some of them have listened. First thing, Casey, there's a typo in the commentary. It says stage 1. So this is not accurate, just so everybody knows. Stage 1 shortage implements a mandatory 3-day-a-week watering. That is not.
2 days.
It's 2 days, so we need to fix that typo.
Okay.
That's in the last paragraph. So stage 1 watering restrictions, we have prepared that resolution to move forward to council. We just talked earlier in this meeting about the water supply, snowpack, et cetera, conditions, how bleak they are. The stage 1 watering restrictions, as I mentioned earlier, we're proposing, we'll bring it to study session next Monday, should this group approve that moving forward. And then it would be a regular session on April 6th with a waiver of reconsideration to make it effective on April 7th. Partially due to the crazy temperatures we're seeing already. 90 degrees in March is very scary for our water supply and for the demand that we talked about. So there are a few things, though, we want to make sure council is aware of, and we'll highlight these as well at study. We can highlight some of these also at regular session, but want to make sure everybody's fully aware of some of the implications of this. So one is the date I mentioned. Normally, watering restrictions, our normal watering restrictions typically go into effect on May 1st. This is a month earlier. So second, we have this year, and I think we've mentioned this here before, we now have AMI meters, the automated metering infrastructure, out there where we can actually see what people are doing as far as their watering, primarily outdoor irrigation habits, and due partially to the risk of needing a stage 2, which we hope to avoid, we need to make sure that stage 1 restrictions are effective and achieve the 20% reduction that we're targeting. So we are planning on strict enforcement this year. That will be different than what we've done any prior year. We've been very gentle with our enforcement historically, where we'll remind people and remind them again and again and again, and then we would go to fines. This year, we're planning on strict enforcement, meaning 1 warning. Number 2 violation is a fine of, I think, $250.
Yeah.
The 3rd violation is a $1,000 fine. So this ramps up pretty quickly and steeply. We'll have the communication, but if people are not responsive and don't adjust, they will be fined. That will create calls to us, and you all will probably get some calls as well. In every case, we'll make sure we've communicated proactively the first time. But we anticipate a number of fines being issued based on what we've seen previously and what we're seeing already this year. The other thing, and we have had this in the past, but there are surcharges associated with drought restrictions as well. And I see a hand, so maybe we should,
Whose hand?
Councilman Andrews.
Oh, go ahead, Councilman Andrews.
Thank you, Councilman Bergan. So when we're gonna get, kind of a one pager about these restrictions so that we can alert the folks that are our constituents so they know prior to not to do this.
Yes.
If we can send that over, great.
Yes, we'll get that to you here within the next few days. The intent is to have it in your hands at least by Monday when we have study session. And we'll also be communicating that information out there. So yes, thank you for that clarification. We will make sure to do that. The fine, in addition to the fines, I mentioned the surcharges. The way the surcharges work is a little different depending on the type of account. So primarily where we're looking to achieve the savings is in outdoor irrigation. So irrigation accounts, what we do with those is immediately when the stage 1 restriction goes into effect, we will reduce their allocation by 20%. That's the savings we're asking to achieve. So if they have an allocation, all irrigation accounts have a water allocation. Say it's 100 gallons a year. It's an annual allocation. They're all bigger than 100, but I'll use that to illustrate. 100 gallons a year, we will go into our billing system and adjust those allocations down to 80% on day 1. Now that doesn't affect anybody day 1 because their allocation is an annual allocation. So they can use water within the constraints throughout the year. And as long as they don't exceed 80%, they won't see that charge, which we have in our billing system, in our process. If people exceed their allocation, they see either a capital recovery surcharge or a tier 2 charge hit their bill after they exceed their allocation.
That's going to be really confusing. So I'm going to get a million complaints. I just know it right off the bat. So we have been, historically, we tell people, you're in stage 1, you can only water two days a
And that
week.
still applies.
Right.
Yes.
But now you're saying you're going to have what their normal allocation is. You're going to cut it by 20%. And who knows that? Nobody knows that.
Most of this is only irrigation accounts. So
Right.
this is only commercial customers.
Oh, not outdoor residential.
Not outdoor
good
residential. So
Lord.
this doesn't, sorry.
I'm going to quit.
Maybe I probably should have started with
Oh, thank you.
single family residential. So this does not apply to single family residential. Irrigation accounts are only like HOAs,
Oh.
metro districts, large businesses that have a separate irrigation meter. So these are dedicated irrigation meters. So that's what I'm talking about with irrigation accounts. In addition to reducing their allocation by 20%, which they all know what their allocations are, we have what, 1,500 irrigation?
There's roughly 1,500 accounts and their allocation is at the top of their bill. They know
They
exactly
know.
where they are month over month
Okay.
in their
So
allocation.
separate customer class. They also, though, from day 1, have a surcharge applied to every gallon of water they use. So irrigation accounts and the surcharge is an additional $2.15 per 1,000 gallons. They're starting at about an $8 per 1,000 gallons number for their normal rate. So their rate this year will go to $10.15 or something like that. So it goes up by $2.15. If they reduce by 20%, they will pay us the same amount of money they would have last year, just they'll be using less water. That's how we've calculated that surcharge. And they will avoid the tier 2 rate at the end of the year or the capital recovery surcharge. So it really double motivates the irrigation accounts, just those dedicated accounts, to use 20% less water. That's where we'll achieve most of our savings.
Okay, so commercial accounts include the industrial, the what?
This is a type of commercial account. It's a special commercial account called irrigation only. We also have other commercial accounts that I'll talk about too.
Oh, okay. So for those specific ones, since we're passing this on April, well, it'll be effective April 7th. So it was only a few weeks. Is that enough time for people to understand what they're?
Most of them will understand. Harder question is, will they make changes? That's where we're hopeful they'll respond, but we're already running into some resistance from property management companies, for example, saying, hey, I get paid to keep the grass green, so I'm gonna irrigate. So it'll be, we're going to get calls. We're going to have a lot of conversations. We're also going to do a lot of proactive communication with those customers. And the largest customers in that category are the city ourselves. So we've already started those conversations.
So we're gonna fine ourselves.
Well, we're gonna try to avoid that.
Well, equal, equal is equal.
So one thing we are going to apply the 20% reduction
Okay.
to the city.
Okay.
However, there are some interesting spaces the city manages. So there are parks that are 100% native grasses. They can shut those off completely. There are also open space areas with just 100% native grasses. They're going to shut those off completely. So what we're doing with our with city is we're throwing those accounts into a big bucket, and we're saying we need to achieve 20% overall savings, which is consistent. So if we can achieve 20% overall savings, then they wouldn't see surcharges or fines or anything like that. But golf courses are a little bit more challenging. So golf courses will probably not reduce by quite 20%, but some of the parks and open spaces will cut all watering off. So it'll be a big bucket approach with parks. I see two hands.
I can't see because it's behind me. Councilmember, who's first?
I raised mine first.
Councilmember Lawson and then Councilmember Andrews.
Okay, so Marshall, so I live in an HOA and I'm just speaking for myself as a resident. Let me just talk as that instead of a policymaker right now. What you just said is very confusing. So I live in an HOA, you're talking about these surcharges. If I go to my meeting and I want to ask this question to my management company and HOA to see if they're doing this, I'm not even sure if I can know if they're giving me the right information, because the surcharges is very expensive, very confusing. But on top of that, these fines as well. I'm not sure if we'll, I like to look at our budget for our HOA and watering, and we're going to get you probably will get some complaints. I know in my HOA, it's so dry and people want the grass to be somewhat green. We might get some fines in my HOA because of just people going to complain about it. But this surcharge is very, 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 very confusing. And if I was going to a meeting and asking if we're following this or if we're doing this, I don't even know where to begin to ask the first basic question. So is that
yes,
something that you can help me with, or something that
Yes.
maybe I could ask you about after or something like that?
Sure, and I'll provide a couple of pointers now, and then we can definitely follow up after.
And just a one follow-up, another question, another thing I want to say, just a comment. If you're making our grass looking brown and everything in my HOA and other HOAs, then I expect for the green lawn to be brown and not green.
The Great Lawn?
The Great Lawn. Sorry.
Yeah, the Great Lawn, yes. So a couple of things. I'll start with that second point first and then go back to the first one. So yes, all the city properties, and this applies, we've told them this needs to apply to the golf courses as well. They can't have any lush green spaces. We're going to try to work with them in this overall bucketed approach, but all the grass in the city that the city manages needs to show the stress of less water. Because we can't, for the Great Lawn, for the sports park, for the golf courses, we can't have water wasting or lush green environments. And people are saying, hey, why are you holding yourselves to a different standard? So that's been supported and agreed upon by pros as well. The Great Lawn's a little bit interesting this year because remember, this year we're taking the Kentucky bluegrass out and we'll be putting Tahoma 31 in. So a little bit of an interesting thing is going to happen there. The Great Lawn will look stressed leading up to that conversion because they should be irrigating it less. Then they're going to rip the sod out though, and they're going to put Tahoma 31 in. The Tahoma 31 will need to be irrigated to be established. It'll want irrigation every day for 2 weeks. So the water use for 2 weeks is going to bump slightly up under a special permit, and then the water use drops way off. We're also allowing others to do that same thing. So if we have other customers who say, hey, I've got all this Kentucky bluegrass, I want to get rid of it and do a conversion to a Tahoma 31, we'll allow them to do the same thing. It will provide savings to us in this year, but even greater savings in any future year. So the Great Lawn will be something that'll look a little different, but just wanted to make sure that was clear. To your second question, if anybody wants to go to their HOA or Metro District and say, hey, how do I know we're complying with the city's requirements? I would say the surcharge information we just talked about, don't even worry about any of that. So that's just a tool we're using to help motivate accountability. The questions you'll want to ask are we only watering 2 days a week like we're told we can? And are we not, and this is a little bit of an interesting thing that we've seen in the past, we've seen spaces cut back to 2 days a week, but increase their watering on the 2 days a week, which is not helpful for them or for us or for the grass. So the two questions are you watering 2 days a week? And are you watering on the same schedule you were when you were watering 3 days a week? In other words, if you were watering 20 minutes a day, 3 days a week, are you now watering 20 minutes a day, 2 days a week? Those are the keys to ask Metro districts, HOAs, et cetera. If they do that, they will avoid the surcharges. They won't even have any issue with those, and they will achieve the 20% savings.
Are you confident that if they do the 2 days a week on the same schedule, that they really won't hit the surcharge?
Yes.
Okay.
Because again, these are irrigation accounts, so pretty much, well, 100% of their use is outside. So there's a buffer in there. Even if they cut that back, it's a 33%.
You'll see it. Yeah.
They'll save 33% and they'll spend less money on their water this year than they would have last year. If they recognize they can cheat the system a little bit, they might bump that 20 minutes up to 22 or 23, still achieve the 20% savings, but still avoid the surcharges. Just there's opportunities. If they do exactly what we're asking them, they'll save 33%.
And then do those accounts have what the residential ones can have with the rain monitor one, whatever it's?
Yeah, they have a lot of them. And we've helped a lot of them, including Talon's Reach recently, go to the smart controllers. So they have rain sensing. So yeah, the 33% should be a minimum savings if they're following just specifically our criteria. Then if they have a smart controller, it'll cut even more watering when it's raining. Hopefully we get rain, etc. So yes, good point.
Okay. Sorry, we interrupt.
Nope, great questions.
And the residential then is just the 2 days a week.
So residential, I talked about, maybe I should have gone in a different order, but irrigation accounts, there's 1,500 of those. They use a ton of the water.
Yeah.
And so we've got all these criteria that apply a little differently to them. Single family residential.
Oh, I forgot to go to Andrews.
Oh, yeah, there's.
Sorry. Councilmember Andrews, I forgot you.
Oh, no problem. Go ahead and finish this item and I'll jump in after that.
Okay.
Okay. So single family residential, it's really simple. just, you can't water 3 days a week this year. You need to water 2 days a week, and don't increase your timer for the 2 days a week. So just cut the third day out. The other thing we're telling people, and it's true, is the grass will survive. It will be stressed. And some areas won't even be stressed, to be honest with you. 2 day a week watering on flat, healthy soil in a shady area is going to be totally fine and healthy. Slopes, bad soils, sun exposure, those things will result in some stressed Kentucky bluegrass, but it's not going to kill any of the grass. So just irrigate 2 days a week on your normal schedule. And we send that schedule out and remind people we're going to do that again. And that's all single family residential need to know. We are assigning specific days because that helps with our distribution system a little bit. So they'll have, I can't remember if it's odd or even, but they have an odd or even day assignment, and we're sending those mailers out to everybody so they know when. Now, we are not going to be issuing fines if they get off on the days.
Oh.
Okay, so on the days of week. So if they're supposed to irrigate, if they're an odd address and they're supposed to irrigate on a Monday and they irrigate on a Tuesday, as long as it's only 2 days a week, we might say, hey, you might want to switch, but we're not fining for that. What we will fine for is if they irrigate more than 2 days a week or water wasting situations. So, and that's a risk if people increase their timers, is if we see runoff into the curb, gutter, street, sidewalk, whatever, we will fine for that. So that's another reason people don't want to increase your timers when you go to 2 day a week. So single family residential, really straightforward and easy to understand. The other accounts we have then are the other type of kind of commercial accounts, the multifamily and commercial. So multifamily commercial, non-irrigation. So irrigation accounts are a meter that only provides water for outdoor irrigation. So the other commercial accounts, commercial, multifamily, industrial, what is happening with those, almost all of them, and I'll talk about a couple of exceptions, is we're looking at their winter quarter average, which is their indoor water use. We're applying a 110% multiplier to that and setting essentially their surcharge allocation in that space. So if they don't exceed that, so if they reduce outdoor irrigation, et cetera, but some of those can be a little more complicated. If they don't exceed that 110% winter quarter average, they don't get any surcharges. Water use above the 110% winter quarter average, which is indoor use, will be surcharged with that additional $2.15. And those accounts are also being assigned 2 days a week only of outdoor watering. So there will be some variability there. If you followed the math, what we're doing is we're saying you have 10% above your indoor use allocated to you for outdoor irrigation now. For some of them, that will be plenty. For some, it won't. Even if they only water 2 days a week, they may see some surcharges in some situations.
Wait, that didn't make any sense. If they're abiding by the 2 days a week with the time allotment.
Yep.
Because of that calculation of the 110 on the winter, they could still hit a surcharge?
They could, yeah. Because, and so one of the
doing what they're supposed to do.
And most of those, like a multifamily development, will be fine. Where it would be interesting, and we could see exceptions, would be, I shouldn't give specific examples, but I will. Amazon warehouse. So
we're still talking about commercial.
This is commercial and multifamily only. Commercial, multifamily only. So like a multifamily complex is going to have most, at least the newer ones, not much outdoor landscaping. So the 10% buffer, they'll be fine. An Amazon warehouse, if you've been up there, has indoor water use associated with the warehouse, and they spike a lot of outdoor water use. We've talked to them, tried to get them to remove some of that aesthetic turf. They've said they're interested, they want to do it. They'll let us know when they can get around to it. So we are partially intentionally surcharging them because they've got a lot of aesthetic, non-functional turf that we need them to remove. So when they're irrigating that this year, they're going to be paying a surcharge. So the discretionary aesthetic outdoor landscapes, we're to some degree intentionally surcharging.
Councilmember Andrews, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, my question was, are we going to be? You said we're going to be really aggressive this summer with folks patrolling and making sure that folks get fines. Does that increase the budget at all as far as employees are concerned, or do we have enough employees to make that happen?
No, great question. So we are staffing up
Well, you're going to pay for them by the surcharge that you make.
to some degree. So there's a couple of complications there. That's a great question. So our costs for the water utility, 75% of our costs are fixed. So regardless of how much water we deliver, we can only, if we didn't deliver any water, we'd still have about 75% of our costs. So reducing what we deliver will reduce some of our revenues, but then the surcharges and fees and fines will increase the revenue. But most of our costs aren't going away. So we do have some we think we'll end up with, and we're probably going to come to council in a fall supplemental to report all this out and say, here's how everything worked. Here's what our revenues look like, surcharges, fines, fees, here's how it all balances. We think we'll have a little bit of additional revenue from the surcharges, fines, and fees. And we're adding, I think, 5 temporary employees this year to assist in different areas. So some of them are water monitors, some are communications people. So we're looking to add an increase, some staffing to help. Most of the enforcement we think will probably be associated with our metering data. So that AMI data will be able to tell when people turn their irrigation systems on. But we still need people to communicate, right? So we've got to reach out to them, tell them, hey, we can see what you're doing, please adjust. So yeah, we do have roughly 5 positions this year, temporary positions, not permanent FTEs that we're planning on adding to help with this in some form or fashion.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's we're trying to right size the water consumption by residents, and then also increase our technology at the same time. And we're using surcharges to do that. Is that correct?
No.
We are trying to do some right sizing with demands, both temporarily for the drought this year, and then I use the Amazon example. We're also hoping to do some right sizing in the community with getting rid of some of the aesthetic Kentucky bluegrass. The technology, actually, we've already implemented. So the AMI meters, we completed those installations, I want to say 2025, early last year. It might have been the year before. Does anybody remember exactly?
It was last year.
Last year? Okay, well, roughly a year ago, maybe year to 2 years ago, we'd had a 5-year project where our old meters were wearing out anyway, so we installed this new technology. So the technology exists. The other thing we're having to adjust a little bit, though, for is since the technology is relatively new, both the meters and the metering infrastructure and the software, we are having to do a little bit of or a lot, depending on who you talk to, of adjustment to the software to help automate the drought response. So there is a lot of work there where we're kind of right sizing the technology to the drought situation, but we already own all the software, we own all the hardware. We're just having to adjust it now since it's relatively new to us to a drought situation.
Oh, okay. That works for me. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. I have a question on, because you're talking about these commercial accounts that Amazon with their plants and so forth. I know probably a few of us have heard from developers that complain that per code, they're required to put in X amount of plants and trees and whatever, in the middle of nowhere in these industrial parks. So I don't remember if that code's been changed.
It's been adjusted to some degree, but we still require shrubs, landscaping, et cetera, in pretty much any setting. And so we are still getting feedback on that. We are still having conversations with planning, trying to figure out how to make some adjustments. So for example, we went and visited one of the data centers, and a couple of the data centers' largest water use is actually outdoor irrigation. It's not process. And they complained a little bit to us about, hey, you guys are making us be super efficient inside, and then you're not allowing us to be as efficient as we want outside with our water. So we are still getting that feedback. It is.
I mean, we got that feedback
I know.
a year ago, so I don't understand why we haven't changed the
We've gotten
code.
it 5 years ago and 10 years ago. So we've adjusted
The
some.
landscape code.
Yeah, but
Manual.
we've pushed some code adjustments through. Jason is supportive of additional code adjustments. We had a whole big process, and it resulted in no changes because we got a lot of resistance from planning. So we're taking another run at that. And during the drought, or at least coming out of the drought, will be good timing to make another run at right sizing some of our code to be more water conscious.
Well,
Yes.
I'll bring it up at PED as well,
Okay, thank you.
because we're doing all the UDO changes.
Yeah, and we may need to, we may even reach out to you all, Water Policy Committee, and try to get some support for that as we go through the process. So I do need to highlight a couple of other customers that are a little bit unique. So we talked about all the customer classes. I mentioned kind of the Amazon example. We have a few of those out there with large irrigated outdoor spaces, and it's going to be a little painful for them intentionally. The customer you may all get lobbied from is Niagara, because all of their water use essentially is indoor. They bottle it and they send it away, and it's non-recoverable. So our plan with Niagara is to reduce their allocation by 20%. They are not going to be happy with that. We had that conversation with them during the 2023 drought. And I don't think we even reduced it 20% in that drought. It was a little bit less that we reduced it. So we are going to reach out to them, give them a heads up, ask for their support. My guess is their reaction will be to lobby council for an exception to be able to continue using the water that they use. And as a reminder, they are our single largest individual meter use in the city. So they're not, Kentucky Bluegrass is our thirstiest customer, but from a single meter, single user, Niagara is our largest user.
But don't they have a contract that allows that allocation?
No, during drought restrictions, all of those allocations can be adjusted by the city.
Okay.
So that's what we're planning to do. We're treating them like we're treating everybody else. Reduce your use 20%.
Which means for them, reduce their production line,
It would, yes, means reduce their production
which
line.
means less revenue.
Or they may
I'm not
choose,
in favor of
the
them, but
consequence of not complying for them would likely be a financial, they would pay the surcharges right up front, and then they would pay when they exceed their allocation on the back end of tier 2 rate. So they would get double dinged. So it's a financial thing.
Mhm.
We will probably, if you get through the fine and fee schedule, our last step in that is to shut people off.
Mm.
We will probably not shut Niagara off. We'll keep encouraging them to reduce their water use and keep billing them. As long as they keep paying the bill, we will probably not shut them off.
so from their perspective, don't you think they're gonna make a fiscal analysis of how how much we're making by producing the bottled water and selling it versus paying the surcharges and the fines.
Yep.
And if one is higher than the fines and the surcharges, they'll be like, fine, we'll pay. And
Yeah.
they'll produce.
Last time, what they did is they cut back their production a little bit, but not as much as we wanted. Because they did the financial evaluation. So as long as we see them reducing and being responsive this year, that would be the situation where we would not plan to shut them off. There could be a scenario where they say, forget you, we're using as much as we want. Then we've got that ability to shut them off to get their attention. But before we ever did anything like that, we would come to council and let you know, hey, these guys are not being nice. And so we need to be more drastic. So we'd have the conversation.
Okay. Anything else on this?
Yeah, there's one more customer type that is interesting, that doesn't fit in well. And it's Angela's favorite customer type because we talked about him last time. It's car washes.
Oh.
So car washes no longer have a winter quarter average. So they don't fit it. They're not an irrigation customer, but they can't be grouped in with all of our commercial customers where we give them 110% of their winter quarter average. Because a few years ago, the car washes came to us and lobbied for us to take them out of that winter quarter average process. So we did that in our rules and regulations, which I'm responsible for per code. What we're planning to do with car washes this time around, because they need to, we want them to use a little less water also. So we're planning, I know, I see your face. So what we're planning to do with car washes is ask them to use, to set their winter quarter average by rule and regulation at 80% of their normal water use. So it would be that same 20% reduction would be asking for. However, if we do that, it would give them a 10% cushion. So essentially what would be requiring of car washes is a 10% reduction, would be asking for a 20% reduction. But they could avoid surcharges if they reduce by 10% on their allocation that we would set.
How does the car wash operator reduce water usage when it's based on how many cars come in?
It is. So what?
So you're like, your car doesn't get washed.
Yeah. Part of
Angela Lawson.
Well, no, what they're gonna do, I just paid $64 for my car to get detailed already with the car wash. They're gonna add the charges on to me.
They
And
might.
That's not, I mean, the car wash
Well-
should just be out. That's a business. I mean, that people go to, and you're gonna take off 10%?
10% is very generous. We're asking 20%.
Yeah, but it's gonna go on to people like me
Yeah.
who get their cars and support the car washes.
It may, what we're in our communication, in the drought communication that we're going to put out, part of what we're going to be asking the public to do is wash your car a little less frequently. So if I go to the car wash 5 days a week, maybe I can go 4 days a week. If I go 4 days a week, it more than accomplish, if everybody did that, it would more than offset that 10% and nobody would be charged anything additional. It's a crisis. It's not, this is, and I don't know.
But same thing, it's a business that it depends on X revenue per month and summertime is their highest season.
Actually not.
It's not? Oh, I thought, oh, well, maybe not with all the snow.
Winter is their highest season.
Okay, well,
But
still, it's a business
It's a
dependent
business.
upon revenues. They don't know how many people are going to come in today. When you say to the public, try not to wash your car 5 days a week, try to wash it only 2 days a week. They don't know. So how do they
So-
staff? Because then they gotta have,
most of the customers that go to the car washes have monthly passes,
like Angela Lawson.
like Angela, like me, like most car wash customers. They do have some number of customers that are one-time use customers
me.
as well. Yeah. So they have both type of customers, but most of their business is by selling monthly passes. So if monthly pass users,
They already pay.
so the car wash isn't out any revenue. All it is a little bit of an inconvenience on me because I'm going maybe one time less a week to the car wash. So it's, I don't think, as a car wash member, because the efficient car washes are a good, efficient way to use water. They do a lot of recycling. There's a lot of good things they're doing. We need everybody to participate towards the solution in the crisis. So that's the commitment I'm going to make, is I'm going to go to the car wash one less time a week per car. So I'm not going to put that burden on the car wash, but they're still getting my money. Now, other customers, if they go one less time and they're a one-time use customer, there will be a little bit less revenue to the car wash. So it's not, it won't kill any of those businesses. Could it be a little bit of an inconvenience? They're only being surcharged above 90% of their normal water use. So 10% we think is very reasonable.
And how much water is recaptured in the car wash?
Depends on the car wash. So, and it depends on when it was built. We've had different standards in place throughout history in the city. So some of the car washes are recycling maybe up to 75% of the water. Other car washes are recycling none of the water. So it's highly variable.
And they're still charged the same way as a regular commercial customer. I'm trying to figure out, because if they're recycling up to 75%.
Getting a second use.
Yeah.
Second, third, fourth, yeah. So you remember our large water user guide, right? If car washes, the ones that don't recycle are prohibited in Aurora because they're too high intensive water use. So they have to recycle now to meet our design criteria. So any new car, that's the other thing I would encourage is people, but we're not going to publish this, go to newer car washes because they're more efficient. But we can't say that because that gets us in trouble. So strike that from.
I think you're on public.
Yeah, I know. So the new ones are very efficient, but they have to be to meet our water use criteria now. So we have thought about other ways to incentivize older car washes to build in efficiencies to become more efficient. We haven't done that yet. But I saw another, I think it was Councilman Andrews had his hand.
Councilmember Andrews.
You answered my question.
Okay.
And Mayor Kaufman, are you all good with your car?
Yes.
Okay. All right, anything else?
No, we just, again, we would prefer not to be in this situation. We're in crisis. It's bleak. We're not the only ones in crisis. So you may, I was going to point one other thing out. So Thornton has already, they beat everybody. They've already declared stage 1 restrictions in Thornton. Denver Water and Aurora Water have been working in very close coordination. They're taking recommendations to their board on March 25th. So we're coming to study on March 23rd. They're going to study with essentially the same stage 1 drought restrictions on March 25th. So interestingly, we're coming to study a little bit before them, but they go to their board directly. They may approve restrictions actually a week or so before.
I think it's a little different than the last time because, last time people saw snow and then they were like, well, you're lying because, and this is pretty evident. Everybody's like, my God, 80 degrees in March.
And the governor did declare a drought emergency as well. So, I mean, it is a statewide thing. Yeah.
It's bad everywhere. And we're talking to other water providers as well.
6 inches of snow at my house the other day.
I know, and now it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
At there's hand.
Another, yes, Councilmember Andrews.
Yes, thank you. I was wondering if we are still investing in xeriscaping and making sure that in the future we can reduce the amount of lawns that need water, so we don't have to go through this all over again.
Yes, we do have still so we have a couple of things in that space. We have our water conservation ordinance that doesn't allow anything except water efficient landscaping in the front yard. It does allow up to 500 feet of Kentucky bluegrass high water use turf in the backyard. We have had one of your fellow council members reach out. Well, she sent me a note. She would like to investigate not allowing Kentucky bluegrass. What other spaces could we require water efficient turf at Tahoma 31 instead of a Kentucky bluegrass? So
Wouldn't that be better in large areas like parks, not somebody's little backyard where the kids are playing?
It actually, so the only downside really that we've been seeing and is being published with the Tahoma 31 is that it has a longer dormancy period. Now that's interestingly good from a water perspective, but bad from a aesthetic perspective, right? It's brown a little bit longer than a Kentucky bluegrass, but it's more pet tolerant. It's more traffic tolerant. It uses 70% less water. So it actually works really well in theory in backyard for small applications or big applications.
What's the cost of a Tacoma?
A Tahoma 31?
No. Whatever.
Compared to a Kentucky bluegrass, it's a little less available, so it's a little more costly. By a little, my understanding, I haven't priced it out completely, but if you go sod for sod, it's probably going to cost 30% more from what we can tell. That would theoretically change if the market changes, right? Kind of supply demand thing. If more nurseries are producing it, theoretically the price should come down. But they've trademarked it, and so you have to become a licensed supplier, so that could complicate things. So it's a little more expensive, but the water savings by itself would probably, well, over roughly, we think a 5 to 10 year period, you're probably going to offset that initial installation cost because the labor doesn't change, irrigation system doesn't change, none of that changes. It's just the cost of the sod changes. Well, you install it at a slightly different time too, but that shouldn't affect the pricing.
So, I mean, I don't like mandatory things. I'm more incentive type of person, but if we made it mandatory and there's not enough of that product available, then you're going to have people that try to get it and can't get it.
Yeah. So we haven't drafted anything yet. We've got more research to do in that space, but I wanted to give you all a heads up that I have been approached with that request that we look into what that could look like. The initial request was, couldn't we just require it everywhere? And we're not sure. So we've got to do that research, have those conversations. We are pretty confident we could require it in more places than what we currently are. So we can tighten that up a little bit more. Shoot, what?
We also have the Grace Capes program.
Oh, yeah, thank you. The other thing we're doing a couple of other things in the landscaping space. So we've got the water conservation ordinance that primarily affects new development. And then we've got very generous rebate programs in the existing developed areas. So we are still paying people to take their Kentucky bluegrass out and replace it with either a water efficient grass, like a Tahoma 31 or a native grass, or xeric landscapes. So bushes, shrubs, hardscape, that kind of stuff. So the way that rebate program works now is it actually pays more for a customer who does a little more. So if somebody takes Kentucky bluegrass out and puts native seed in, the rebate is like 30% as big as it would be if they take Kentucky bluegrass front lawn out and put hardscape and shrubs and trees and water efficient landscaping in, it pays like 70% more for that type of conversion. So very industry leading, very generous rebate programs. I will point out, though, we've talked about this here before, that the rebates will not cover the entirety of the cost unless people do all the labor themselves. So if you're willing, if somebody's willing to do all the labor themselves, you can recover all your costs. But if you have to pay for labor, the rebates aren't generous enough to cover labor and materials, all those costs. So, and then Luz mentioned, we do have Greatscapes. So Greatscapes is a kind of a modified variety of our rebate program, where for low income qualified customers, they can apply and go through the program where the city we pay for 6 to 10 of those a year, depending on the year, where we'll go in and do a contractor, not us actually, but we'll pay a contractor to go in and do the landscape conversion. And then what we do with those customers is we give them criteria where they have to maintain the landscaping in order to not have to pay us back. But so there's some accountability, but that's the Greatscapes program. So we have a lot of programs out there and code requirements associated with water-wise landscaping. And there's two hands up.
If you have constituents that are in your area, right now we are accepting applications for our grass replacement incentive program through July 1st. Really, we've been very much communicating about that, and this is going to be a part of a larger, really big push to really help people understand what is available in terms of conservation programs and rebate programs that are available.
And we're maintaining all those program availabilities in the drought. So some people might think, oh, it's a drought, I can't do something like that. No, we'll still, in fact, if we have enough demand for that, we've done this once before. Some of you might remember we went to council in, I think, the fall supplemental and said, we spent all of our rebate program money. Will you please approve more? Council supported that, and we put more money in so that we did not have to turn a single applicant away from our GRIP program, our Zero Landscape program.
Great.
You have two hands.
Oh, go ahead, Mayor Kaufman first, and then Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Marshall, what is the I know I might have missed this if you did this earlier, talked about this earlier, but the program where you provide the plans for xeriscaping, is that still going on?
That is, Mayor, that's the Greatscapes program where.
Oh, that's the Greatscape. Okay.
Where for the income qualified customers, we will provide.
We also provide.
But you do plans
Landscape design for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, did you ask about
Yeah,
landscape design?
he's asked about landscape design.
Oh,
yes.
sorry.
Sure.
Landscape design for all customers, sorry, I misheard the question, is still provided. We still do landscape designs for free for everybody. So there is no design cost associated with the rebate programs.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay, and yeah, if you could send it, if Shawnee or somebody could send us something out that where we could post that, just to put that option out there for people, that'd be great.
Absolutely. What we're going to do is just get together it's going to be a digital packet of all the information that you guys will need to be able to understand the programs, understand the questions that are going to come out, understand the surcharges, because that's going to be the number one thing you're going to be asked about. And then of course you can always just send them to me if you, but yes, we'll get you something.
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Andrews.
Yeah, Greatscapes is a good program. Our organization actually was a contractor for the city for a while doing the program. So the cost is really relatively decent for the city. The question I wanted to ask is how many folks, I think you answered it, 6 to 10 folks are going to be able to use the program. Is there any way to expand that so we can get a better scale on moving forward with that?
We did 18 in 2026. We got a grant from CDPHE for 100,000. So we were able to do $200,000 worth, which came out to 18 households, I believe, last year. We still have a little bit. I think we have 8,000 left of that grant. So we're going to be spending it this year. So we should hopefully be doing the same amount this year. To
Who's
be
the
determined.
contractor?
Oh, I don't know the contractor. I'm sorry. I just handle the grant stuff. I don't know who the
Okay,
contractor.
no, gotcha. Just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. Thank you.
Yeah, and I should have mentioned that the grant was helpful. It's almost all spent. So we've, 18, I couldn't remember the number last year also. So we did ramp that up. We'll see if hopefully we can get 18 this year.
Cox Landscaping.
Cox Landscaping is the grant
Contractor.
contractor.
Councilmember Lawson, did you have a
Oh,
question?
great.
Yeah, I just had one question, just my last question on this, going back. So I know you guys have meters, and I'm not talking about HOA, so I'm just talking about individual households, single family. So for example, how do you detect, is it complaint driven as well? I know you said that you're going to have additional resources, additional people to go check things out if people are not complying. But what if you have someone that maybe their front yard is kind of brown, but their backyard is very lush and green and they have a privacy fence? Are you going to go and try to look at that property, or is it just complaint driven? Basically, I mean, how will you know that? And really, you don't have a right to go into someone's backyard, do you?
Isn't it on the water usage?
Yeah, so a couple of ways. Historically, it's been complaint driven, to your point. And so it's been mostly neighbors calling in or somebody from the public calling in and saying, hey, my neighbor's watering 3 days a week, or my neighbor's watering between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. What the AMI meters do for us is we can literally tell every time an irrigation system turns on, because it spikes the water use in the meter, unlike any other use they've got. Well, pool filling would do a similar thing, but that's also prohibited, so it would be captured as well. So we'll then be reaching out to the customer saying, hey, we can see you've got your irrigation system timer set to go off at these times. As a reminder, we're in drought restrictions. You need to cut that back to 2 days per week. Here are the time recommendations for your irrigation system. It's a kind of a table that shows type of irrigation system, what they're irrigating, and how long they should be irrigating. So that's why we'll need some additional resources, to the question earlier, to be able to have that communication. And then we'll be able to tell if they respond or not. And that's where we'd have some fines start going into place. So we won't have to, one of the advantages we have this year that we've never had before is we don't have to see what they're doing in the backyard to know what they're doing with their irrigation system. That's a good and a bad thing. You'll get some feedback on that. We will too. The whole, Big Brother is now watching us through our water use, and we're going to have to communicate, yes, we're in crisis and we need everybody to do what they can to reduce water use. So
In support of council, though, my understanding is Thornton, who also has AMI, is also intending to have it as a tool. So it's not like Aurora will be the only entity doing this, just so you know. Yeah.
To that point, though, Denver, for example, does not have
AMI.
So enforcement in Denver will look different than it does in Aurora because they don't have AMI.
So with the AMI, immediately, right? If the water has spiked.
Yep.
And you said, so would you be sending an email to the account holder versus sending a person out, or both?
Depends. So some will have emails, not all. Some will have phone numbers, but not all. And some will have to send people out. So it'll be kind of a multi-pronged approach. And
but there are some people that have that other system. What's it called? I mean,
Well, there's the Eye on Water or the Know Your Flow or.
Is it Know Your Flow?
So right now, customers have the ability to either use Ion Water, which is direct, it'll provide 15-minute incremental data on terms of what their water use is. Alternatively, people can go in through our online portal, which is our Spry portal, and they'll be able to see the information that's in there, and that's hourly data. So customers are also going to be able to tell if something is off. And the thing is that, sometimes your sprinkler system can get a mind of its own, in particular if there's been a power outage. And so that is why we are really going to be encouraging through our communication is, you're going to get sick to death of me. We're going to be communicating a lot about this because we want people to set alerts. So that way, when those things happen, we understand that things can happen, right? And so if you have those alerts, and then the other important thing to know about a warning to a residential customer, people have 7 days to cure the issue, right? It's not like it's a day after tomorrow thing.
Right.
So when they get the warning.
But everyone has the ability to know their usage by
Yes.
going to the website.
Yeah, they absolutely can set up an account online, and that way they can set up alerts online, which is probably one of the most important things. It'll notify you either via email or your phone.
Okay,
If
but I
you've
think
got
that's
something
the
going-
problem is no one knows to do that.
We've been communicating about it. So here's the thing is that we recognize we've been communicating about it, but to get people to hear things, we have to communicate it literally everywhere in every place all the time. And so we are going to be hitting so many different formats. Like I said, I was on TV 3 times today. People are going to be sick of hearing from us, but it'll also be a really good and positive thing as well, as long as, people feel like they can access the information.
Okay, great.
And if they don't, we have some customers who might not have a computer or they're not
Yeah.
tech savvy. They can always call us too. So we put the phone number out there, say, call if you've got questions. That Shawnee did mention one thing that is important that I failed to mention, which is single family residential have a 7-day cure period. So they have 7 days to make changes. We're not going to call them on Monday and find them on Tuesday, right? They've got 7 days.
So if they have a sprinkler system and sprinkler systems are not
Right.
that reliable necessarily. So if you have I don't know what the valve messes up, you're going to spike on water.
Yeah, that'll be a continuous use too. So
And
that will keep going.
So unless you're signed up, you wouldn't know.
Well, most of those you can see because it'll be spewing water somewhere. But if somebody's out of town, that's a risk. We don't like to do it, but we have gotten calls in the past where a neighbor will call and say, hey, this thing's been going on for a day and my neighbor's out of town. So we will sometimes go out and shut a meter on we do that in our system to avoid them having property damage. So we do it as kind of a courtesy. The other thing I want to point out, the 7-day cure period is for single family residential. The commercial and irrigation, the large accounts, the cure period is only 3 days. So they have to go out and make a change or fix a lot more quickly than a single family.
Okay, I know we're a little bit over time. Yes. Any other questions from our council members, committee members?
I don't have any other questions, just that I guess surrounding areas, I hope they comply, and because when I go to certain areas, I see lush green. So we'll see. It's gonna from Aurora to example Lone Tree, Parker. I don't, you see the lush green grasses. So.
And
Yeah, Lone Tree especially.
And you are absolutely right. Some of those systems are groundwater-based systems, which is really not helpful. So they have been reluctant in the past to make adjustments. And they've said, the groundwater looks kind of like it did before. So the impacts of a drought on a groundwater system they lag by years or maybe decades. So they're continuing to deplete their groundwater reserves, but it isn't going to hit them this year. So we're very frustrated by that as well. And I'm sure we're going to see some of that again this year.
Okay.
You do have another hand.
Oh, another hand. Yes, Councilmember Andrews.
Yeah, I agree with Councilmember Lawson. I think that we're going to have to just take a fine look at it. My wife's a realtor, and when selling houses in the prime time, we've got to make sure that we have some less yards. So let's just keep the conversation going. And hey, next month when we have another meeting, if things aren't going well, then we gotta make some adjustments.
Thank you. So just to confirm, next meeting, there is a conflict. It's, our meeting is scheduled for the 15th. And two of us, Councilmember Lawson and myself, will be on the city lobbying trip.
Yeah.
Talking about lead.
And we'll talk about lead and PFAS and all that. So we need to reschedule that one. Let me take a look here. So that would be the 22nd. I'm getting my hair done.
What about the week before? Totally
Hey,
understand.
that's some water usage.
Low flow.
Is there another, the week before?
So the week
The 8th?
before, there's actually, that's the Aurora DC prep meeting at 11 o'clock. So if we move it, we can move it up earlier. If that works, Councilmember Lawson and Andrews on the 8th.
Okay,
So
that's fine. I'll be in person, so,
At the,
Yeah. I'll be fine with it.
so I'm fine with that, moving it up, yeah.
you'll be in person at the prep meeting.
Well, yeah, if you move it up early, I'll just be at the prep meeting after.
Oh, okay. So we could do, if we did what, 9:30.
I'm sorry about that.
9 o'clock?
Lawson. I didn't mean to-
That'll work for me. Yeah, if that works for Councilmember Andrews.
Can you do 9 o'clock, Councilmember
That'll-
Andrews?
That will work.
What day
Okay.
are we on?
So we're on April 8th,
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Does that work for everybody else?
And I just forwarded the poll.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you for accommodating us. And again, I apologize for going over a little bit, but good conversation. So thank
Don't we
you.
have to move the resolution? Don't we have to move the thing forward, the,
Oh, yeah, I was trying to forget that. Don't forget that.
Yes, please.
Are we in agreement to move the resolution forward?
is it a resolution or ordinance?
It'll be a
It's a
resolution.
resolution.
Okay, yes, I'm approved to move it forward.
Agree.
Councilmember- And myself as well. So it moves forward. Okay. I think with that, meeting is adjourned.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So.